So welcome to my Hobbies channel. I recently made this tank, it's the M24 Chaffee US light tank. I had a lot of fun putting it together. I did a little bit of weathering on the little bits on top and just did a bit of a black wash just to kind of make it a little bit kind of not so brand new. I do want to do a little bit more work on it, but this video is going to be about the diorama I'm going to create to situate the tank and create a little scene with a house in the corner and dirt and trees and some barrels and things like that. But yeah, this is the tank I recently built, and I really enjoyed putting this together. My first tank I've done, and this is a photo from eBay. I purchased the house on the left. Now it doesn't look like that. It's you'll see in the video it's made out of balsa wood and it's all kind of laser cut out and you assemble it. That's just some photos again from eBay that just shows the assembly of the house. I'm going to show you how I put mine together. So they were all the parts. I opened up the box. Really impressed with the way it was made. The instructions are very straightforward. The only thing is you just got to consider that you're using PVA glue here. You can use super glue, but I would use PVA. That takes a little bit of time to dry, so you've got to get creative when you're gluing wood together and making sure you situate everything in a position where it can dry really well before you move on to the next step. These were the doors I cut out to start with, and I just thought I'd just show you those, and I glued the little blocks that it asked me to glue on the bottom there. And yeah, they're quite fragile, so you just got to be careful when you cut everything out. You get little notches on the side once you cut something out, and you got to kind of sand it. So that's what it looks like. It's a kind of like on a big plank, and most of it's actually cut out, so all you need to do is just cut out the little notches and the pieces will fall through. I have this scalpel set that I've had for a little while, and or chisel set I should say, and it came in handy and for this particular project. So you can see me cutting out the window frames there nice and gently. You just kind of push through. Some of the parts came out a little bit easier than the others, but again, you know, you just got to be patient with all these things. You can use a scalpel. Again, that's just a thinner blade that you can kind of push through. Some of the parts are actually thinner than some of the other big blocks of wood, so you just got to kind of work your way from both sides to get through them and just be a little patient. If you do end up buying it, I think it's a very good value, because I mean, for me to make this from scratch, it would cost me a lot more and it would be time consuming. The fact that it's all laser cut out and you just, you know, pop everything out and glue it together, it's a lot of fun. It took me about a week to put the house together, and you'll see in the video. Each part I cut out, I made sure I sanded off the little notches on the edges and made sure every part was nice and smooth on the edges before I would glue everything. That's just sandpaper, 240 grit I think it is, glued onto foam. This is just an example of me getting creative. I've had some blocks of wood that I used for, you know, gadgets and things like that, and frames that I've made, and I thought about using these in the project to kind of keep the doors square in this particular instance, because, you know, once it dries, if you don't glue it right, it's going to be a nightmare. Wood glue is very strong, and you need to be careful how much you use, and to make sure you don't glue your projects onto the blocks of wood that are used in to hold it. This is a particular challenge I had to glue these two bits of wood together, and I had to be square. So one option was to grab a block of wood, and if you cut the corner away, then you won't have the risk of the glue gluing onto the block of wood. Of course you would need something heavy to kind of push them together, but at least you would get a nice square finish. I remember I had these, and I've had these for like 20 years. These are framing corners you can buy at a hardware store, probably for around $10, maybe less. And what you can do is just prop that in there. It'll be perfectly square. You can glue it with your wood glue. You let it set, and then Bob's your uncle. And this is what I did in this particular case, because this house is very square. The wood can warp a little bit when you add glue to it, because it drinks the glue up. As you can see, by using the jig, I made sure it was nice and square, so when it came time to glue it onto the panel, I didn't have any problems. If it's not square, then you're going to have to force the wood in the opposite direction, and that creates headaches. I used some tape there on the corner. As you can see, it turned out really, really well. And this is just, taking care of gluing things and making sure that everything's done right the first time, so you don't have to take anything apart. There's nothing worse than gluing something together, especially if it's wood, whether it's a plastic model as well, and realizing you've got to pry it apart. These clamps, I highly recommend you get these little mini Irwin clamps. They're about $20, but worth getting the original ones, because if you get the aftermarket ones, they won't work. I used them on the particular house that you see there, gluing the sides, and I used them to actually hold it together. Looking forward to doing the inside of the house. I'm going to put wallpaper, I'm going to do some rafters. It was a bit of an afterthought though, so at this point in time of the video, I could have done the rafter, which would have made life a little bit simpler without the roof, but I didn't think of it till after the roof was kind of almost assembled. But it doesn't matter, I can still get through it from underneath, and it's still a very doable thing, especially the wallpaper. Again, something I wanted to do it was an afterthought. Now this is the roof, and it's just 2 panels, and then you glue the little tiles on top. Now the tiles come in a nice long strip, and you just do 1 strip at a time. I was really thankful for that, to be quite honest, because I thought the shingles were going to be all individual pieces, which would have been quite a nightmare. But as you can see there, they just come in strips, and you just kind of pry them off with your with your chisel or your knife. This is a little jig. Again, I got creative. The jig is so you can hold each strip down, because once you add glue, it wants to warp a little bit and it props up. So I used pegs on either side, and once I lined it up, I pegged it down, then I added the wood, and a couple of days later, because I would glue one and wait about an hour, and glue another one, wait another hour, and once I got everything glued, then I put the fascia on. But as you can see, it turned out pretty cool. Now that's not the whole house. I've got a porch as well, which I'm going to show you. And like I said, this is really good value. For $45, it's exactly what I wanted. It's going to be really good in my diorama. Now the top of the roof actually wasn't like that. I decided just to add a beam on top there. It was supposed to be some sort of little tiles, but it didn't quite work. I don't think they measured it correctly, and it looked a little bit off to me. So I just got a bit creative. Around the back, I'm going to actually cut it out. I'm going to cut out like a bit of a shape so you can see inside it. So you can see from the back as the diorama spins around, or whether you walk around and see through the back of the house, you can see all the cool stuff I'm going to do inside. As I said earlier, I'm going to put wallpaper. I'm going to add a little hanging light with an LED. I've got to wire that up with a little switch and maybe a 3-volt battery. I'm going to do a little painting. I was at an art shop about 6 months ago, and I saw these panels, and I got a few of them, and I thought they would be really good bases for dioramas, and sure enough, I've using this one. It's going to work perfectly for the house and the tank. Now the tank won't be in the case, of course. I've just left it in the case to protect it from dust until I finish the diorama. But once the house is all painted and stuff, I will put a dirt mix on that panel, and then I will add trees, I'll add grass, I'll put the tank in the center as well. There'll be barrels and maybe some soldiers. I don't know, I'm making it up as I go, to be quite honest. This is the porch. Now this is the roof. I was just showing you again. This is how I get creative. I needed some weight to hold down each little panel so I wouldn't hold it there with my hand for 10 minutes. And I just had found these little parts from a microphone, I think they were, and I just used them and did a little bit of a jig there. Now this isn't glued on. I just propped it up with foam, because you need to prop it up about 25-26 millimeters so the porch can work. Now I propped it up with some foam that was 30 mil foam, and I used the black foam, which is 5 mil foam, just to hold it up to show you it's not glued. I'm gonna primer everything and then glue it at the end, but I really enjoyed making this, and I'm looking forward to part 2 of this video, which will be the painting of the house and also the interior of the house. And I've lost a little bit of sleep thinking about, you go to bed at night and you go, oh, what I'm going to do. I thought about the wallpaper, and I thought about the little painting I'm going to hang up, maybe the drapes I'm going to make, and everything that's been kind of going through my mind. made up some primer ready to go. I'm going to use a white primer just so that the colors come through nicely. But this is part one of the video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like this sort of stuff. You know, after I built the tank, I promised myself I would make a really nice wall kind of diorama. So yeah, this is part one, and thanks for watching again, and hopefully part two will show you some lovely finishes.